Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. You're looking at a Conqueror gun carriage. It's a tier 10 British SPG. It's located on the south spawn of Hinterland, and this one is under the command of randyxx777 of the War Clan. Now it's a fake Arty because it never actually existed, although it does have a 9.2 inch howitzer, which is 233.7mm in caliber. It's capable of 1000 alpha and penetrating 59mm of armor with 11.6 meters burst radius, which is very, very big indeed. That's a huge footprint. And 13.2 to 33 seconds of stun. Now this Arty, otherwise known as the Orbital Death Star or the Orbital Laser Cannon, is actually capable of firing shots which come down like a bolt out of the heavens. So it's actually fairly deadly. It is fake tank, but it's designed and based on the Conqueror gun carriage, the Conqueror rather tank, but it isn't a real tank. It never actually existed, and Wargaming could have actually made any number of vehicles into the tier 10, which actually did exist, but they didn't. They decided against it. You can see Randy's looking for targets. Found the UDIS 1516, but it's being a bit difficult to pin down at the moment, and he's holding on to his shot. You don't have a huge amount of ammunition in this Arty, only 24 rounds. Okay, so he's now dialing in on the IS-4, who's been found in the centre of town, and he's firing on a particular position, so he's decided to fire in. Two Artys fired at the same spot at the same time, and yes, the IS-4 was there, and he was hit. In fact, more Artys are starting to dial in. That guy must think he's being victimised. Now, this is a grand battle, and of course, grand battles, as you know, there's a lot more Arty. And this is proof, in a sense, that, you know, we could actually have more Arty in the game without it spoiling the game. When people complain bitterly about Arty, it's only because they don't know how to avoid being hit by Arty. We're loaded again. It is a long reload. The book reload on this Arty is 44.1 seconds, and you can see Randy's got it down to 37.34. Rounds out. Well, that was very nice of the SDB1 to pull back right into the fallen shot. He actually got 486 hit points. The SDB1 didn't get penetrated, but he certainly took a bit of punishment there. Going back to the town centre, you can see this Slight 5 Heavy. There's an E900 and an SDB1. The SDB1's pulling back because, of course, from changing position. He obviously realises that it's just too dangerous for him to stay around that position because he's going to get hit otherwise. Randy just sees the AMX-50B walk through, and now, of course, that thing's got a very fragile turret, so you should hit the turret if you can. He goes to the E900 and gets a direct hit for 471, so that was a good shot. Just yesterday we watched Klaus Kellerman's Christmas video, and he did go on one of his familiar rants about some subjects, and in fact actually it's Elon Musk and Elon's attempts to actually make it to Mars. Of course, I think that Klaus actually misunderstood what Elon was up to. Elon thinks that we should become an interplanetary race. And by that it means that we really do have to, and that was a good shot there, we really do have to have people on other planets so that we don't have all our eggs in one basket. And I'm afraid he's referring to the fact that humans do have the ability at this moment not to wipe out the human race, but certainly to diminish the numbers through war. And so therefore it would probably be a good idea if we settled on other planets as well. Almost ready for the shots. Who's going to get it? IS-4? Well, landed nearby. The reason being, of course, if you do have humans elsewhere, then no matter what actually happens on Earth, you're still going to have a viable human race elsewhere. And the first thing to do is not to actually settle on Mars, it will be to settle on the Moon. The Moon which is actually getting slowly further away from our planet every day. It's actually it doesn't keep the same orbit all the time. It's actually moving gradually away. I think it's about an inch a year or something like that. So it's getting further and further away. One day it will be free of us gravity well, and actually will fly up into orbit as a planet, another planet of the sun. It'll be a very small planet, but it will be a planet nonetheless. So what Elon's indicating is that we should settle elsewhere, and then Klaus was saying, well, he can't really settle on Mars because it lacks 3 of the things that we actually need. One of which is an atmosphere, the second is water, and the third being no ozone layer or no protection from the effects of the sun. Well, he was referring to gamma rays, but actually, in fact, the big worry is that the sun's UV radiation, which is actually far stronger, would actually wipe us out. Because on Earth, we do have an ozone layer, and the ozone layer does stop most of the effects of the UV radiation that we absorb on this planet. Without that UV radiation, without that ozone layer, we would be susceptible. We would start cooking from all the microwaves stroke UV that actually hits the planet. Obviously, a lot of you realise that UV radiation actually does have a bad effect upon us in terms of causing skin cancer, and that it burns our skin, literally burns it. You might think that a nice tan is good looking, and it does look good, but unfortunately it's actually signs that you've been damaged by the sun's radiation. So what Elon's saying is that we should move to other planets, so that if the worst happens on Earth, then at least there's going to be some humans surviving. Oh, he got 2 of 1 there. He's done it before. He's having a good game. We're 3 up on the enemy on the game-wise. In fact, actually, we seem to be doing quite well, even though the enemy are bunched together in the town. So, what about those problems of no atmosphere and no water? In fact, actually, there is water on Mars. They do know that there's water on Mars. It's deep underneath the ground, and that's why it's not on the surface. Mars is very cold, actually, very cold indeed, and carbon dioxide has actually... Oh, we got a splash kill. The carbon dioxide has actually settled and turned into dried ice in certain areas of Mars up at the poles. So it's a very cold planet, and that's because it's so far away from the sun. But it's also that the atmosphere is very, very thin indeed. It's very thin. It's only a fraction of the amount that we actually have on Earth. And it is mostly carbon dioxide. In order to create an atmosphere, we would actually have to take the nitrogen and the oxygen that was actually connected chemically in the rocks and extract it from those rocks to make atmosphere. The problem really is that even though it's a long way away from the sun's solar wind is actually blowing away a lot of Mars's atmosphere every year. The solar wind is constantly hitting the planet, and because the planet doesn't have any UV protection from a magnetic field, it's gradually losing atmosphere, which is just basically being blasted out into space. But we can create an atmosphere on Mars. It would be possible if we were able to actually take asteroids that were in the asteroid belt and then extract the gases from the rock and then use those gases, or place those asteroids on Mars so they could then be used to create what man needs. So it would be possible to get the oxygen and nitrogen. course, we couldn't just put oxygen onto the planet and live in it. We would need some nitrogen as well, because too much concentration of oxygen is as toxic as too much carbon dioxide, for that matter. A lot of people don't realize that. Well, the Batchat 155-58 is one of the last enemy tanks. They've still got one more to go. A Leopard who's escaped somewhere. There he is. He's been spotted. He's the last one on the enemy team. He's suddenly realised our guys are getting close. Rounds out. And he goes down before our shell can reach that spot. Here's the end of battle results. Whilst I was rabbiting on about Elon's quest to go to space, Randy XXX777 managed to get an ace tanker in that game in the Conqueror gun carriage. He also managed to get a bruise medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he got 10. And he got a win ace of 3,343, which is Super Unicum standard. The battle did take quite a long time, but in the end, they managed to win. As he said, it was a slow ace on a grand battle. We look at team scores. We can see the highest damage in the game was a TVP T5051. It managed 5,954 hit points of damage. That guy got a Spartan's, Pascucci's medal, and a tank sniper out of it. The second highest damage was a Type 5H on the enemy team, 5,179 hit points. And the third highest damage went to a VK7201K, who managed 4,735. We can see Randy got 3,437. He was beaten by just one member of the enemy team, that Type 5, and 3 members of his own team, which make him 5th on damage. When it came to kills, we can see the TVP T5051 managed to get 7 kills. 3 kills went to the Gorilla 15, the Wizzy 111 Model 5A, the Caro 45T, the Leopard, sorry, not the Leopard 1, Leopard 1 on the enemy team, and their Object 261. Whilst the Leopard 1 on our team got 2 kills, so did the Badger and the IS-4 on the enemy team. You can see Randy only got the 1 kill. When it came to base XP, we can see Randy's in 4th place on this time. The TVP T5051 was the only one who managed to get over 1,000 base at 1,421. The VK got 990 and the T57 Heavy 976. And Randy following that one with 958. So he did do well. He fired only 13 shots in the entire battle. The battle lasted 10 minutes. 5 direct hits on the enemy, but none of them penetrated. But he did get 18 splashes, 3,437 hit points of damage, all of it at more than 300 meters. You can see from the fact that he got 18 splashes and only 13 shots that he was hitting multiple tanks many of the times. He was looking for places of confrontation where enemy tanks were bunching together so that he could plant the shell in such a place that it would actually damage more than one at the same time. Damaged 10 of the enemy, killed 1. Got 326 hit points of damage assistance and 4,364 hit points of stun assist off 16 stuns. On a premium count, he actually made a profit of 73,556 credits from the game, only getting 41,802 from holiday ops. So I suppose that grand battles are not favoured in the holiday ops. You're much better off with random battles. He got 7 bonds for this being tier 10. And 5,748 experience points out of this game as well on a ×2 day. So I suppose the best thing to take out of that is that Wargaming might want to adjust the amount of holiday ops that's credit that goes towards random grand battles. Otherwise, people might stay away from them during holiday ops. And the other thing is that maybe Wargaming ought to allow grand battles to other classes, to other tiers. So they'd have a tier 9 grand battles and also tier 8 grand battles. I think that might be interesting to see what actually happens if people at those levels actually did get onto a grand battle map. So well done there to Randy, but this is not the only replay we've got in this video. We've got another one because Randy didn't just send us one, he sent us 2 at the same time. So let's have a look at his second replay. The second replay is in the GWE100, the Tier 10 German SPG. But this time we're on the south spawn of Prokhorovka, and battle's commenced. Now we go past the test sack, and they've got quite a meaty engine whenever it starts up, if you've ever heard that. Oh, that wasn't very nice. Somebody who obviously doesn't like Arty. Well, more shame for you. So getting back to what we were saying about the about Elon Musk and his attempts to actually get humans off the planet, it's actually so that we can preserve the human race, that we don't all die out straight away the first time we have a big war. And I do applaud that, but I think actually he's got the wrong target. He wants to get to Mars, which is actually a long way away, and it does take quite a while to get there, even if you improve the means of actually moving between planets. And Buzz Aldrin came up with a concept where you could actually circulate between the two planets on a carrier ship that would actually go on a regular course. So it was actually completely doing a circuit between the Earth and Mars on a regular basis. Therefore, you didn't have to launch the people on that particular ship. You'd actually have a carrier ship which would join up with that vessel, and then they would only decelerate the small little carrier ship that connects with the main vessel. So it's actually a smart concept. Of course, Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the moon, but he was actually a very smart man. He was, actually had a doctorate in orbital mechanics, and so he knew a lot about how the ships operate, and all about the orbits, and how they would how to actually ensure that they were in the correct position. When he was actually in one of the Gemini craft, the orbital system actually enabled them to actually work out where they were in space, actually went down. But because Buzz Aldrin had a sextant with him, a space sextant, which is actually slightly different, he could actually work out precisely where they were and in what orbit, because he had the mass, the intelligence to calculate it out manually using a slide rule and the sextant and a pencil and a piece of paper. In fact, actually, it wasn't a pencil, it was a pen, but he could work out precisely where they were. Its concept is actually a very, very good concept, actually. In theory, it saves a lot of the fuel that the vehicle would actually carry, because although the craft would slow down over time, because of course there is resistance in space, space is not completely empty. It's actually does have a lot of the solar wind in it, a lot of material flying through space at any one time, just smaller quantities than on Earth. And of course, so these vessels do slow down, but if you've got the main, the transportation vessel moving backwards and forwards between Mars and Earth, it's on an orbit, which means that it doesn't have to put much energy in order to stay on that orbit, and so it can just keep moving backwards and forwards. And all the carrier craft that actually has the people on board has to do is speed up enough to catch it, and then once they've caught the carrier, they just dock with it, and then when they get to the other end, the carrier craft or the docking craft undocks, and they don't have much energy to expend to actually slow down. Oh, he fired the round a bit early. He thought that T-62 was going to pull back, and he didn't. Now, as I said, the better thing for him to do would actually be to put a colony on the moon. If you put a colony on the moon, there's a lot of things about the moon that actually make it very attractive. Not just the fact that it's not that far away. It is very close to Earth. It is in Earth's orbit, the moon, and therefore it's in Earth's gravity field. It's about 3 days away at the moment under current at the current speeds that we would have to go to get there. But it's close enough, and of course it does have some of the constituents that we need, or some of the things that we need, like water. There is water on the moon, and it can be extracted from the rocks. but it's mostly underneath, down under the moon's crust. Tiny amounts of it, not huge amounts. Good shot, that one, onto the Progetto 65. Now, there is no atmosphere on the moon, and there's no chance of actually creating an atmosphere on Mars either. It doesn't have a strong magnetic field, although it is very close to Earth's magnetic field. The one thing that Mars does have is proximity to Earth, so it means that we could move in and we would be able to get close enough to help anyone on the moon if they were in trouble. I don't know if you've ever seen, there's a movie called Moon, which is actually quite interesting for the fact that there's a human up on the planet on the moon actually collecting helium-3, and you see the sun is constantly bombarding the moon with the solar wind, and a lot of that solar wind is just hydrogen ions, but some of it is helium-3. Another good shot, landed behind the target. And the thing about helium-3 is it can be used in a fusion reactor. Well, what is helium-3? Well, helium-3 is an isotope of helium which only carries the molecular weight of 3, not 4, which is the standard molecular weight. So it's only got 1 neutron, not 2. Helium normally has 2 protons, 2 neutrons. So if it's only got the 1 neutron, it's helium-3, and of course therefore it's an isotope of helium. But the great thing about it is that it can be used in a fusion reactor to create fusion energy, because you can actually use atoms of helium-3, combine them together, and you'll get proper helium, but you'll release neutrons and energy when you combine the elements together. Well, you actually combine it with lithium, not with helium-3, but the helium-3 is one of the constituents. Oh, another hit. So yes, it'd be much better for us overall if we were able to move to the moon, not to Mars, because Mars is just too far away. In order to move to Mars, we'd actually have to have all of the equipment we need to sustain life on the planet. And I know that Klaus Kellerman mentioned the movie The Martian with Matt Damon, and the guy survived just because he made potatoes. Well, in actual fact, you couldn't survive on just potatoes alone, and it's not really feasible. What they mentioned in that film, they did try to check and make sure that the science was valid, but I'm afraid at the moment it's not. So it's rather unfortunate. That was a direct hit. You notice that the advantage of actually staying and watching what happens to the shell is you know that you definitely hit the target, and that therefore he's wounded. If you'd looked away, if anybody looked away, they wouldn't know that, because of course they wouldn't have seen any results on the screen, so they wouldn't have an idea. Now it's a ferocious battle going on here. Now our guys have moved up to the center line. We could move up as well to shorten the time on the firing. You can see the enemy tanks going down. There's the E3 again. And that splashed him. 3,198 stun assist already. So I think this is going to be another ace tanker. Oh, got the gorilla. And he's sitting at the back. Okay, well, we know where he is, so we can mark the spot to say that's where he was last seen. I think our Eunice is about to discover him. Rounds out. Well, he's been stunned, and we're now collecting his stun assist. One more enemy to go. It's a Hori 3. And he's been located, but Randy's not even bothering to look now. I think he's given up and said, okay, well, the battle's won, and there's nothing I can do. Here's is the end of battle results, and that was another ace tanker game for Randy XX777 of the War Clan in the GWE 100. He managed to get a ace tanker. He got a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he managed to get 11. And he also picked up a Confederate, hitting more of the enemy than anyone else on his team. And his win rate, well, it wasn't that big, but he did get a lot of stun assists out of this one, which is why his results were so good. 1,588 is good, but it's not exceptional because it's not a lot of damage. It's more stun assists that he was after. When we look at the final results on the team scores, we can see the highest damage actually went to the Udas 1516, who got 5,446. So he was being particularly aggressive. The second highest player, in fact, was the Gorilla 15 on the enemy team, who managed 3,996. And the third highest damage, well, that actually went to the STB1 on our team with 3,636 hit points, but of course he didn't survive. Randy managed to get 2,047 hit points of damage, and there was only 2 players on the enemy team who actually managed to get more than him. But on his own team, there were 7 players who managed to get more than him. And so, consequently, he's actually in 10th place when it came to damage. I know, sounds terrible, but it's a huge amount of damage nonetheless. When it came to kills, the high scorer was that Udas 1516 again. The STB1 managed 3 kills, 2 kills by the Striv 103B on our team, the Heshbarn and our Gorilla 15. And on the enemy team, only their Gorilla 15 managed to get more than 1 kill. And when it came to base XP, and of course, Randy didn't get any. When it came to base XP, we can see Randy's in 2nd place, but of course he was getting lots of stun assists. The Udas managed to get 1,211, but Randy got 2nd place with 970, followed by the STB1 with 935. Now he got 15 shots off in that game, which is a good amount to get an ace tanker. 5 direct hits, none of them penetrated though, unfortunately. 15 splashes, 2,047 hit points of damage, all of it at more than 300 meters. Damaged 6 of the enemy, got no kills. Of course, that gave him the Confederate. Excuse me. And he got 4,266 stun assists off 16 stuns. So basically 6,000 combined damage in the game. On a premium count, he made 207,906 credits off 9 minutes work. And he also got 37 bonds, 30 for the achievement, and 7 for this being tier 10, and 8,002 experience points on a ×5 day. Now that ×5 days says another present from Santa was in fact Christmas Eve, but it was a great result, and so well done. I'm sure we're going to be seeing some of the Christmas replays coming in soon, and I will try to get them done as quickly as I can. I will try not to rabbit on about Elon and moving off the planet or anything Klaus says, because sometimes Klaus, he doesn't quite understand. I mean, he's an intelligent guy, but he doesn't quite understand. Sometimes he rants on and he misses the point. The only reason is that Elon is actually more interested in keeping people alive. And I know a lot of people say, myself especially, that Elon is a bit of he's not a confidence trickster. He's a bit of a showman. He's more of a like a cross between P.T. Barnum and some might say Bernie Madoff as well. That some of his companies are not that valuable, or not as valuable as they should be, but they are hyped in value. But the guy actually has the best intentions for us. So I'll try not to rabbit on about him in these games, but I think it was important because I saw that video yesterday and I thought, no, Klaus, you've got it wrong. You've misunderstood. And I think it's only because the press love Elon. They love talking about him and they just misunderstand him. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed both those battles while I was rabbiting on. Randy's still up to usual standard, and he did get a nice present with that one. Let's see if he sends us in any more of his Christmas replays. If you enjoyed this replay, please give it a like, do subscribe to our channel, leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm, and thank you for watching.